So with that, ladies and gentlemen, move on to our next presentation. The topic, solving 8 posture management challenges for CISOs. Our speaker is Zane Lim, the Sales Director for APAC for Cymulate. Please welcome Zane, please.
Hi guys, thanks for having me. Yep, this is our very first physical event for Cymulate as well as the first event in APAC, so I'm glad that I'm finally able to take my mask off and to see everyone here. So today my presentation will be about the security posture management challenges that CISOs are facing today, what the limitations are with regard to the traditional methods of offensive security testing, and what the new approach is, and how Cymulate can help in this journey. So a little bit about Cymulate. Our mission here is to empower security professionals and leaders to manage, know, and control their cybersecurity posture end-to-end, to provide them with insights and data to allow them to have a facts-based conversation and base their decisions on facts as well, moving away from assumption-based knee-jerk type of reactions and decisions based on the latest trends or the latest buzzwords in the market. So the challenges that a CISO or security leader face is twofold, external and internal. Externally, you have your latest threats that's happening in the market. You see organized crime groups, financial crime groups, and nation states, they are upping their games constantly, refreshing their TTPs and IOCs. And you need to be on top of it. You have the vulnerabilities as well. New vulnerabilities are introduced on an almost daily basis. Back in 2021, we have around 30,000 vulnerabilities that's being identified. That is around 20 times more than what it was 10 years prior. We also have your external attack surface, managing that external attack surface. With COVID-19, the attack surface has largely expanded because of digital transformation. Organizations are moving towards the cloud. But the key word here is expanding. Because although you're actually moving towards the cloud, you still have on-premise platform. So the security leader here is not just managing a shift in attack surface, but managing an expanded security surface, attack surface. And third-party risk, as you onboard more clients, suppliers, partners, it's inevitable that you're being introduced to third-party risks. Oftentimes, you are not the one that's most at risk, but because of a vulnerability, because that your suppliers or your partners is actually exposed, and hence it impacted you as a business as well. Internally, there's the enterprise drift. With the changes that are happening in your environment on an almost constant basis, it's almost impossible to track your enterprise drift, to create a baseline, and to track what your risk is trending over time. You have the human factor as well. So security awareness in your employees are at various levels within the organization. It's difficult to come up with a one-size-fits-all security program to bring up the overall security culture. You also have differing skill sets among your cybersecurity teams. CISOs nowadays have to make do with the security talents that they have due to the talent crunch, as well as the limited budget that is being allocated to cybersecurity. Lastly, you also have business alignment. Cybersecurity teams are being made to have to be seen as business aligned, that they are empowering the business and not hindering the growth of the business moving forward. Lastly, you have the compliance requirements as well. And this is something that's pretty common among the CISOs here in the region, whereby they are largely focused on being compliant with the regulatory standards in the markets. So what are some of the limitations when it comes to the legacy testing methods? What we are referring to here is your penetration testing, as well as your red teamings and audits. So here's the challenge. With the legacy testing methods, what you're trying to do is pretty much like taking a flashlight and pierce through the fog and try to get a momentary visibility of what your organization's security posture would look like. However, the value of this visibility diminishes over time because you would have new attack surface that's coming up, a new vulnerability that's being introduced, third-party risks, as well as new threats in the market itself. Most importantly, misconfigurations and gaps that are happening in your cloud infrastructure as you make those changes accordingly. So you can't really see where your risk is trending over time, and hence the limitation when it comes to the traditional testing methods. So this is the traditional limitations summarized. First of all, it's expensive to maintain and it's time-consuming. You often need high skill sets to run them, either hiring a consultancy to run the security assessments for you, or you would have to hire an in-house team, which is difficult to hire and retain at the same time. Even with an in-house team, it's usually very difficult to make these new TTPs and IOCs actionable, because they may at times be lacking the tools to empower them to create these assessments. Even when you are able to create these assessments, it's usually weeks down the road when the threat was first introduced. And when it comes to penetration testing or security assessment, it's usually not done in the production environment for the fear of bringing the systems down. So it's not exactly a true reflection of what your organization's security posture is. After all these assessments are being conducted, they are really good at poking holes, finding gaps. But what's lacking usually is the prescriptive remediation guidance, as well as helping the stakeholders, the non-technical stakeholders, understand what the report is about and how do they bring about an uplift in risk, an uplift in their cyber resilience to reduce risk. So the new approach. So now that we have identified the limitations of the traditional approach, what should be the new way of doing it? So firstly, it needs to be able to articulate risk and articulate risk in a timely manner. And it goes from a bottoms-up approach. From the security operations level, you need to be consistent and say, here's our security posture, and here's where our gaps are. Here's how you're going to remediate it. And that gives confidence to the business level, whereby they could say, okay, now that our risk is well managed, this is when we can actually roll out our new implementation that we have been trialing so far. These are the things that we can do to create a competitive advantage in our business. And with that, the executive level would then have more confidence to make decisions based on validated risks. And it has to be continuous. So we talk about new threats happening every day, daily in your environment, and your environment changing almost at the same pace as well. That's why you need your assurance program to be continuous. First of all, you have to assess your current security stack, understand where the baseline is, understand where the gaps are, and then optimize this current stack to try and bring about the maximum value out of the investments that you have made. Once you have optimized the security stack, you would then want to look at where you should rationalize your investments, as well as resources on the gaps and areas that matters. Once you have made that investment, you would then want to constantly assure the organization as well as your management on the investments that you have made, your current security stack. How are they trending compared to the latest threats and changes that you're making to your environment? Is the risk trending down over time, providing them with visibility and matrix to measure their investments? So we talk about having to articulate. Sorry, it's lagging a little bit. Yep. So we talk about having to articulate risk in a timely manner and permeating through the technical, business, and executive level. And we talk about the program being continuous. But it would only make sense if you have visibility of your security posture across the cyber Q chain to avoid a false sense of security assurance. So the new approach requires you to have visibility across the Q chain from your attack surface to your security culture, from your perimeter defense, such as email gateway, web gateway, WAF, to your endpoint security, network security, and data loss prevention systems. So I guess most of you here today would have all these security controls and programs in place. But think about it. How often are you guys validating it? And how often are you guys optimizing it, given that latest threats are happening on a daily basis? So the new approach is what we call the Extended Security Posture Management Platform and Framework. So what it does, it addresses the 4 core domains from IT and cloud hygiene, people and processes, assets and vulnerabilities management to security controls, validation, and optimization. And it's pretty much governed by 2 key methodologies: breach visibility and security validation and optimization. So what breach visibility does is to allow you to assume the role of a malicious actor, to help you understand how far and wide can a malicious actor propagate within your environment and whether it can reach your crown jewels. With security validation and optimization, you would want to know whether your security controls, whether you have a good baseline of it, where the gaps are, and how you could then proceed to optimize it accordingly. And these are the essentials that's required to deliver the 2 methodologies that we talk about. The attack surface management, understanding what's out there in the dark web, what can be used as actionable intelligence to breach your organization. Continuous automated red teaming, assuming the role of a malicious actor to try and propagate within your network, identifying the various paths to your crown jewels and not just the path of least resistance. Vulnerability prioritization technology. I'm sure everyone have run vulnerability scans before, whereby there are hundreds, if not thousands, of findings. But how do we add context to these scans? How do we know which ones should we prioritize? Should we just base it on critical, medium, high findings? Or should we add context by understanding whether there are compensating controls that are preventing the vulnerability from being exploited? Advanced purple teaming, to be able to customize assessments so that it's tailored to your organization based on the policies and processes that you have put in place. Breach and attack simulation, like we've mentioned before, identifying the baseline, where the gaps are, and how can you optimize your security controls accordingly. And what we want to achieve, the outcome, is not just analytics and insights. What we want to do is to provide prescriptive remediation guidelines so that you can bring about an uplift in your security posture and cyber resilience and be able to track your risk that's trending over time itself. Back to our mission, to allow you to have facts-based conversation, be it with your senior stakeholders, with your CFOs, with your IT teams, or even to your SOC. So why Cymulate? We are the only ones that are able to provide the end-to-end comprehensive security testing. From your attack surface all the way to your data loss prevention system. We have one of the most comprehensive solutions in place. So what that means is that you only need to deal with one vendor. Our assessments also are being updated on an almost daily basis because of the threats that's happening. So we do have our internal R&D team. So this is not something that you'll be running in your systems once a month or once a quarter. It can be run in the background, and you will only be alerted when your security posture score has gone up, which means that it's at a poorer state than what it was previously. So here's an example of how Cymulate has helped our clients, given the latest Log4j attack as an example. So what we did here was, with the announcement of that attack, within 48 hours, we have already prepared advisories, security templates, and this has been all sent out to our clients. And our R&D team is also constantly looking out for other variants of the Log4j attack, just to ensure that our clients can validate against them in a prompt manner. And the outcome, the clients benefit by being able to execute this assessment promptly and effortlessly. You're able to assure their management that whether their organization is susceptible to such attacks. And we are proud to say, only 3% of our clients' Apache servers are still vulnerable after the assessments, compared to 2/3 of public Apache servers, they are still vulnerable according to the reports. So this is the last slide. And I'd like to share with you a client case study from a major global bank. So what they did here was they have this problem statement, this challenge statement, that they have an aging ATM infrastructure. And what do they do about it? Should we refresh? The business is asking the cybersecurity stakeholders, look, you need to give me a use case, a business case. Why should we actually replace this? So they have Windows 7-based ATMs and Windows XP-based ATMs. So what we do here is, using Cymulate, they were able to run a series of assessments on these ATMs. And what they found out was, with the Windows XP-based ATMs, there was nothing they could do about it. There's no security control that they could introduce or tweak, or they could not tweak the operating system to prevent certain exploits from happening. On the Windows 7, what they realized was, yeah, I could actually introduce some security controls, I can make some tweaks to the operating system, and the risks are manageable. So the business heard, Windows XP based, there's nothing I can do about it, I have to refresh the infra, Windows 7, we can keep it. And that's how we help them with it, to help them make their decisions and with confidence. They also have an internal pen testing team. But it was actually very costly for them to run these assessments on a continuous basis, to come up with assessments manually and templates manually. With Cymulate, we provide them out-of-the-box templates, which they could then execute effortlessly in their environment. And that allows them to have up to 50% savings on their cost in running and maintaining such a purple team. Lastly, they were also choosing an endpoint security tool, an EDR. And they were thinking, how should I rationalize this investment? With Cymulate, when they are running the POC for all these various security vendors, we were able to tailor the assessments according to the scenarios that they are looking for and assess these EDRs to help them identify which one is best out of the box that is tailored to their environment, which of this security solution requires the least efforts to optimize to get to the state that they wanted to. So these are some of the examples that we have helped our clients when it comes to the security posture management journey. And that's pretty much what I have to present. So thank you. We have a booth out there, the first one on the left behind. So if you guys are interested to find out more about the solution and to have a chat, we'll be happy to meet you. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Zane Lim, Sales Director APAC for Cymulate.